In today's show, we're talking all things Bosnian beast. Jusuf Nurkic is cramming on fools in the FIBA World Cup. How can the Blazers harness that and get the most out of Nerc when the season starts? Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts. We're still rolling along 3 days a week in August, but every day there's a show. Make sure it's your first listen every day. Tell your friends to do the same. We're still having a bunch of fun, even if it's the slow time here in Blazerland, but we are getting closer. NBA training camps are probably going to open up in about a month from now. Preseason begins the first week of October. We are getting there. You are listening to Monday, August 29th's show. Thank you for listening. And today's show, we're talking all things Bosnian beast. Jusuf Nurkic had a viral moment over the weekend when he crammed all over France's Vincent Poirier. Vincent, former Boston Celtic, a big person, tried to contest Jusuf Nurkic at the rack and got crammed on. Became a wonderful social media highlight, a YouTube sensation, all of those things. Your boy Nerc doing what he does. That's like the signature Nerc dunk is one-handed with the right hand, clear out with the other hand, and be too big to stop. He's done it a bunch of times, and he did it again in the FIBA World Cup qualifier. I want to talk about Nerc abroad. He's going to be there for, right now they're playing World Cup qualifiers. Then they're going to switch over to Eurobasket, two separate events. And European Nerc with repping Bosnia and Herzegovina has been good. I want to talk about today's show, what we've seen from Nerc there, and how the Blazers can get the best Nerc, the best of Nerc, when he's back wearing a Trailblazers uniform in the fall, as we talked about in October when they start playing competitive exhibition basketball again, and then the real thing a little bit later in October. Let's just talk about what Nerc's doing first. Let's start with a highlight. This is a game against France, the second of these FIBA World Cup qualifiers. This FIBA World Cup was formerly known as the FIBA World Championship. I don't know how recently it became the FIBA Basketball World Cup, or the FIBA World Cup for short, but that's what it is now. This is the FIBA World Championships, a separate European tournament from Eurobasket, but a big one, and one that has Olympic qualifying consideration. If you win the World Cup, you can make the Olympics down the road via that tournament. The way the Eurobasket is a little bit different. However, Nerc has played two games. He played a game against Montenegro. He had 21-point loss to Montenegro. He had 13.7 boards in 27 minutes. Struggled a little bit from the floor. 4 of 9 from the floor. 0 of 4 from 3. And made 5 of his 8 free throws. But against France, they go into double overtime. They win a thriller against a team with, Rudy Gobert and his blonde hair on the court. Rudy Gobert sporting the blonde in the summertime. One of the best defensive players in the history of the NBA on the court for him, and Nerc was really good in that game. 21 points, 9 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals and a block in 31 minutes, 9 of 16 from the floor, 1 of 4 from 3. He hit his first 3 in the opening seconds of this game and then missed the other 3. 2 of 5 from the free throw line. Again, struggled a little bit from the stripe, but Nerc's been pretty good. That's a really impressive night against France. And then the highlight is the dunk. Nerc catches it at the top of the key. A guard shows on him, and he pump fakes, gets the guard a little bit off balance, who then bails, realizing he shouldn't be guarding a 7-foot, 300-pound man out that far from the rim. He goes to look for someone else to guard after Nerc gets him a little off balance with a one-handed ball fake. As the sea parts, Nerc drives. Big man Vincent Poirier tries to challenge him at the rim, and Nerc says, "No way, just no way," and just crams on him. Kind of protects himself with the left hand, goes up hard with the right, dunks, comes down hard, and it is like a big physical highlight. You'll see it a whole bunch dunk. Nerc sporting 0 with Bosnia, which is pretty tight, wearing the letter O over there in Bosnia, and the highlight is the special one that you will see. I think I think in general, like, guys, particularly, playing for the national team, particularly European players, because it's just like, this is more important in Bosnia than some like Trailblazer games. Like, this is really important. Wearing that jersey on the front is important. All these things are important. And Nerc gets to be the guy with Bosnia. And I think those are two important things. One, like, these are meaningful games, even though they're on, a little bit harder for us to watch. Although you can go to FIBA's website, and rewatch the games. They're available for rewatch if you want to watch them. The flow of European basketball is great. There are a lot less stoppages, so if you do want to catch up and watch it, it is available for you to watch online relatively easily. Nerc's playing well. An impressive win over France. If you watch the highlights, late in the second overtime, they're going to him and they've taken Poirier off him. He was abusing Poirier early in this game, abusing him. They take Poirier off him. They put Rudy Gobert on him, right? They say, we got the best defensive big man in the world. Let's go put him on Nerc. And Nerc twice goes to work, gets middle to his right hand, and hook shots right over Rudy Gobert. There's even a third one when Gobert kind of does a half flop and Nerc scores over him. This is the Nerc of preference for him, right? He's getting a bunch of touches on the left block. He's able to go middle with his right hand, and if middle gets taken away, he can spin back and use his offhand, or like that near rim right-handed scoopy layup that you've seen Nerc do so many times. But like, this version of Jusuf Nurkic, as the guy, as the man playing for a place where he has a ton of pride to show these things, like, this matters for Nerc, right? Like, this is important for Nerc. It's important for the country, and he looks really good doing it. It's cool. Like, the highlight itself is fun, but I think moreover, what's important here is like, this is kind of the best version of Nerc, is Nerc as a focal point. How can the Blazers find Nerc as a focal point, Nerc as these things where, European basketball is a little different than the league. So, 21-9-4, maybe not in double overtime in a game that neither team scored 100 points, like, maybe doesn't seem like a monster game, but that's a monster game by FIBA standards. Like, that's a monster night. Nerc's had some crazy stat lines in the NBA, and certainly has had some crazy moments, but Nerc is coming off the season where he looked like the best version of himself. He's showing up in Bosnia, wearing the Bosnian national team jersey, looking like the best version of himself. How can the Blazers harness that, get that, and find 75 games of this version of Nerc? I've got some ideas. I want to talk a little bit about what we saw from Nerc last year and the numbers behind the production of Nerc as the third guy and production of Nerc as the second option on offense, and what that says about him going forward. But before we get there, I want to remind you about just the importance of driving safe. Listen, it's never okay to drive stoned, because it's dangerous out there. If you think it's okay, and you might be thinking, what's the worst that can happen? You're going to end up driving below the speed limit. It's no big deal, right? Wrong. Look, the truth is your reaction times slow down when you're high, and you're not only putting yourself in danger, but everyone around you. Talk about a buzzkill. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. That's a reminder just to be safe out there on the roads. Let's talk about Jusuf Nurkic a little bit in the second segment. All right. Nerc, a beast and a focal point with the Bosnian national team. Dude has had his moments in the league. I do not mean to paint Nerc like he hasn't had his moments. He's been really good. We saw him in January of last year. Nerc averaged 17.4 points, 12.5 rebounds, and 3.5 assists in 24 games before the Blazers shut him down, or before his plantar fascia happened to spring up right at the All-Star break, depending on what you would like to read into it. But 25 games of 17, 14, and 3.5 is awesome work, right? Like, we have seen it. But I think digging a little deeper into the numbers suggests how to get the most out of Nerc, and I think that's really the question here. Prior to Dame going down, Dame's last game last year, this is Damian Lillard Sr., Blazers All-Star point guard. Dame goes down. His final game of the year is December 31st, 2021. An easy marker in the calendar, but also like an important demarcation of where the Blazers like seasons shifted. They struggled in November and December. They were 9 games below 500 when Damian Lillard got out. They were not a good basketball team. Dame was injured, but there was also just bad. The vibes were bad, and the basketball was bad. They struggled, and prior to Dame getting hurt, Nerc, it's not like Nerc was bad necessarily. 15 and 11, right under 3 assists per game, shooting 53% from the floor, basically effective field goal percentage right at 55%. Like, not great, but not bad. 15 and 10 is like a good, really solid season from Nerc, right? You really believe it. But he was just getting a lot less touches in the post. The Bosnian beast you see playing for his home country is getting force-fed, getting fed on the block where he wants it. He wants to go to the left side of the court. Wants to catch it in the post, where he either can face up and use his good feet to make a move, and his power, because that's what sets Nerc apart. Is he can have he both has his light on his feet, and he's just a giant person, incredibly powerful. But he wants to be on that left side so he can go middle with his right hand, like we talked about. Prior to January 1st, Nerc was averaging just over 3 post-ups a game. He just wasn't getting that many touches in the post. They're a pick-and-roll heavy team, and Nerc's numbers as a roll man in the pick-and-roll with Damian Lillard are elite. He is a wonderful roll man. Elite might be an overstatement. He is well above average, according to the numbers, as a pick-and-roll man rolling with Damian Lillard. Numbers courtesy of Synergy. Straight up really, really, really solid. One of the good ones, right? Like, Nerc's got chemistry as a roll guy. But he wants touches in the post. For sure. He wants to be kind of the engine starter as opposed to just a cog in the engine. Every NBA player wants touches and shots. That's not unique to Nerc. I don't mean to paint it as such, but it is what it is. A big person like Nerc's size needs a specific type of touch. After January 1st, this is January 1st, 2022, Dame's out. Nerc starts to be the focal point for 6 weeks, or one of the focal points. He's the second option behind Ant. Nerc averaged over 9 post-ups a game. They were giving him the ball on the block. He was getting his chance to go for it. Now, his efficiency slipped. He was not as efficient. He was more efficient on 3 post-ups a game than he was on 9 post-ups a game. He was more efficient overall from the field when he had a smaller offensive load than when he had a bigger offensive load from January 1st until he played his last game in the middle of February at the All-Star break. He was more efficient with a smaller role. That is typical of NBA players. The best players can scale up from small role to big role with efficiency. Nerc had a drop in efficiency as he scaled up in role. That's normal. That is just a normal thing that's going to happen to guys. Not many dudes can have a big uptick in usage and maintain their efficiency. Nerc slipped a little bit in the way that you would expect, from about 57.7 effective field goal percentage to 52% effective field goal percentage. Worse. He made less shots. He was worse. But I think the efficiency numbers paint what Nerc does and what Nerc can do, not in the wrong light, because I believe in the numbers. I'm a nerd. Like, I believe in the numbers. But you can see it with your eyeballs. Nerc with more touches was more engaged defensively. Nerc with more touches was more willing to pass the ball. His assist numbers went up as he got more touches, which you would expect. But also his percentage of assists slightly rose when he got more touches. Like, he passed the ball more, because when you get the ball in the post 3 times, you're going to shoot it. You're just not going, I get 3 of these touches, I'm going to shoot it. When you get the ball in the post 9 times, you could shoot it 5 of those times. The other 4 times you keep it moving. I really like the idea of Nerc as a passer out of the post. I don't think maybe the path forward, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, is like a bunch of Nerc post-ups. But the idea that Nerc getting post touches could help the offense, I 100% buy into and agree with. The way to get the most out of Nerc is in some ways to lean into this role that he had in January. But the context of that role in January is important. Norman Powell only played 9 games. There's 24 games from January 1st to when Nerc was shut down on February 16th. Nerc played in all 24 of those games. Norman Powell played in 9. CJ played in 12. Josh Hart played in 3. The only player who played in all 24 along with him was Trendon Watford. So you are getting... This wasn't, no Dame during this stretch, right? The context matters. They turned the keys basically over to Ant, and he was the number 1 guy. He was the lead guy of the dance. But Nerc was very clearly the second option on offense. They were running the memorial first play for him every game. He got his first touch on that left block where he wants the ball. The context is going to change a little bit this year. It's going to be different for Nerc, right? Like it's not going to look identical because you're introducing Dame, who's going to soak up a bunch of possessions and wants to dribble and run pick and rolls and all that. You're introducing Anthony Simons again as the 2 guard, a guy whose best skill is scoring. You want him to go and score and shoot. That's how you get the most out of Ant. You're introducing Jeremy Grant, who might not soak up a million possessions, but it's safe to assume that Jeremy Grant's going to shoot the ball. He's going to take some possessions away from Nerc in a way that the previous, Robert Covington, Larry Nance, even Trendon last year. Trendon gets him up, but Jeremy Grant, I'm willing to wager, will have a higher usage rate than those gentlemen. He's going to shoot more. He's more capable of scoring on his own, more capable, more willing to take shots in isolation, take shots in one-on-one situations. Like there's more offense there. Josh Hart, if he's going to play, they keep saying they want the ball in his hands. He's going to go, and there's some offense to be had there. I'm not sure the rest of the guys are high usage guys. Don't think Nas will be. Don't think Justice Winslow will be. I don't think Gary Payton's going to be a high usage guy on offense. If he plays, Shaedon Sharpe, he's going to shoot some, you would expect, but he's not going to be like a big focal point on offense, etc. like that. Same with Trent Watford. He likes the ball in his hands, likes to shoot, but I don't think, one, who knows how much he'll share the floor with Nerc and how much offense he'll really soak up. But Nerc is pretty clearly going to be fourth in the usage distribution, fourth in shot distribution. I think that's safe to say. But you need to strike a balance between 3 post-ups a game and 9 post-ups a game, because Nerc was happier and better and just looked like much closer to the best version of himself when he was getting closer to 9 chances a night to post up versus 3. It's not as simple as 3 and 9, like triple the number of post touches, you're better. Again, the efficiency went down a little bit. The Blazers didn't win a bunch of games. You're also making a choice when you post up Nerc, and that is to go away from what your offense does best. So I want to talk about, to close the show, is consistency and balance, because those are the 2 key things for the Blazers getting the most out of Jusuf Nurkic. Join me in the 3rd segment. Let's talk all about it, shall we? Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond. You are still listening to Locked On Blazers. We're still talking all things Jusuf Nurkic. I watched Jusuf Nurkic highlights, then I rewatched a little bit of the game. I rewatched the 4th quarter and overtime of the game against France, and I was inspired by how well Nerc played and how good he looked. And as the guy on offense for his country, going at legitimate NBA front line, going at Rudy Gobert in the clutch to make right-handed hook shots. Hook shot that full to death. If Jusuf Nurkic is a good hook shot maker, I think I'll stick with hook shotter. It's the stupidest one, so we'll stick with that. That's a weapon. But the best version of Nerc is a pick and roll beast. The best version of Nerc is probably a dribble handoff beast. It's not a post-up guy. But Nerc wants to post up. And part of getting the most out of him is giving him a little bit of what he wants to make him happiest. This is the balance with every player in the league. What do you want to do? Well, I'm Damian Lillard. I want to run pick and rolls. Okay, we're going to run a bunch of pick and rolls for you. Ant, what do you want to do? Well, I want to run pick and rolls, and I want to get some wing isolations because no one could guard me. Okay, we'll get him there. Jeremy Grant, what do you want to do? Well, I want to have high post ups. I want to isolate in the mid range and go to work. Okay, we'll see if we can get you some of those touches, right? Like, this is the balance of everyone in the league. Not unique to Jusuf Nurkic. But Nerc is such a bellwether for how well this team plays. When Nerc has been on the court, consistently the Blazers have been an average to above average defense. When he's been off the court, it's absolutely cratered. He is so crucial to what they want to do. Jusuf Nurkic has been a wonderful pick and roll partner with Damian Lillard for multiple seasons. And last year, during that 6-week stretch from January to Valentine's Day, January 1st to Valentine's Day, him and Ant were a wonderful pick and roll duo yet again. Nerc's got some real pick and roll skills. Playing with 2 great ball handlers, and I think some of that raises his floor a little bit. But I think there's enough of a sample size to say that he's a really good pick and roll big man. But it's clear from my time around the team and listening to Nerc and talking to Nerc is that he wants a little more responsibility. A little more responsibility for a guy like Nerc means post touches, something that they committed to when the team was a little bit injured. It doesn't only mean post touches, and I don't mean to paint it so starkly, but some catches near the rim because that's where he can do the most damage. I'm into it. I'm into Nerc getting some post-ups because I like the idea of changing the way the offense looks. I like the idea of just the variety. I think he can be a really good passer out of the post. I think against some matchups, they're just not big enough to guard Nerc, so then they have to send 2 players. Anyone on your team that can command a double team creates an advantage. Let's go and find those advantages. That's the key. But the question with Nerc is consistency. It's not whether he can do this. We've seen him touch high highs in the NBA. He's been really good. The question with Nerc is not can he be really good, it's can he be always something like closer to his best self. The question with Nerc is consistency. It's not overall talent. It's the consistent production with that talent. And some of the ways to get more consistent production from Nerc is to give him what he wants, which is why I'm talking post touches, right? Like he was clearly a frustrator early in the season. He was clearly feeling a lot better in January when he was playing better, and that coincided with him just having a higher share of the offense, having just more Nerc stuff. The question is balance. When you choose to post Nerc up, you are taking away one of the best ways to score in the league. And one of the best ways to score in the league is run a pick and roll with Damian Lillard. You're making a choice between something that is really good and something that's just okay. On the year, Jusuf Nurkic averaged 0.85 points per possession out of the post. That's the 32nd percentile in the league. That is near his career high. The best version of Nerc we've seen pre-injury in that 2018-19 season averaged 0.85 points per game out of the post. Really good in the bubble, but it was only 8 games. When we've seen larger sample sizes, about the best you're going to get out of Nerc is about 0.85 points per possession. That is not good enough offense to commit to it. So you're not going to run 9, 12, 13 post-ups a game if Anthony Simons and Damian Lillard are on the court. It's about striking a balance. It's about finding 6, 7 touches out of the post for Nerc, and enough touches that he doesn't just force shots at the rim and hurry. You've seen Nerc, I've talked a lot of numbers in this show, but you can see it when Nerc is rushed. And when he's rushed, he's bad in the post. He makes bad decisions. He flips up little soft shots. He doesn't go up strong. He doesn't get to his right hand in the hook shots that he can make. He tries to spin back and shoot those little right-handed layups on the left side of the rim where your angle is weird and it's tough and you're coming from underneath and all of those things. Like, you see it with Nerc. He rushes, he turns the ball over, he commits offensive fouls because he is just going to go to the rim and the defender knows it and they pull the chair or they let him get hit in the chest and fall down, and the NBA rewards falling down in a way that punishes giant people like Nerc, but it's part of the sport. He's got to figure out the balance. It's the balance and the consistency. When you are choosing to post up Nerc, you are choosing to take away some of the best offense in the league. But choosing to give Nerc a little bit of the carrot helps him be the best version of himself, helps him play with a great spirit on defense, which they're going to need a whole bunch of Nerc there. And it helps him be a better decision maker because he's not panicking about his touches. The way to maximize Nerc is not to make him a number one option, just because it's not realistic. If Dame's going to be on the court, you want him carrying the bulk of the offensive load. And quite frankly, you want Dame doing what he does best because it's some of the best offense in the league, right? Like, Dame in isolation, Dame as a pick and roll guy is an elite offensive option. The point of getting Nerc more involved is more variety on offense and just making the team a little bit harder to guard because you're not doing the same thing every time down the floor, or like a version of the same thing every time down the floor. When it comes down to it, when we're talking the last 3 minutes, 4 minutes of the game, they're going to run pick and rolls. They're going to run their bread and butter. They're going to do what they do. But I'm talking the first 40 minutes of each game. Get Nerc more involved. The way to maximize Nerc is to find that balance between what he was prior to in 2022 last year, prior to the new year, and then New Year Nerc. Striking that balance is the challenge. And you need Nerc to buy in. You need him to say, like, okay, I don't need 9 post-ups. I don't need all of these touches, but like, I want some touches closer to the paint. And if I get some of those touches, I'm willing to do, some of the other dirty work stuff and just like play at a consistently high energy level. Because Nerc, when he's kind of like, you've seen him kind of pouting a little bit or just like outwardly frustrated on the court, he can be a real negative. But he's got the skills to be a serious positive. I don't think he's going to jump up into that elite big man class, but there's like a sort of like Clint Capella, I know DeAndre Ayton's probably a little better, but like Clint Capella, DeAndre Ayton, Jusuf Nurkic tier of big man, Jonas Valanciunas tier of big man that Nerc can consistently get to and be there and in that range of like, hey, I'm one of the above average centers in this league and I have some skills that they don't. Like what makes me unique is my touch around the rim if I take my time and my absolute size there. I don't think you want to scale up Nerc to a bunch of touches because the efficiency hasn't come with it. But I don't think you want to abandon that because you're going to lose some of what makes Nerc special, and that's his just like the juice he can play with, the energy he can play with. Striking a balance and getting the most out of a consistently engaged Jusuf Nurkic is the way to maximize him. It's not Bosnian and Herzegovina Nerc. It's not January to Valentine's Day Nerc of last year, but it is somewhere closer to those two roles than the role he had in November of December last season, where he was, still averaging 15 and 10, but he was doing it in his, he was getting put back buckets and scoring in pick and rolls and stuff. The counting numbers might not look that different. If Nerc averages 15 and 10 and 3.5 assists, like tight, like that's a really nice season. And I don't think we should poo-poo that season or whatever. He doesn't need to average that 17, 14, and 4 like he did in January and February. The counting numbers might not change, but the how should change a little bit. Getting Nerc a variety of touches, so he's not just a pick-and-roll dribble handoff guy way out from the paint. Getting Nerc some touches on his preferred left block so he can go to work, and so he's comfortable enough when he gets those touches that he can make good and smart decisions and not rush himself. Patience and balance will lead to consistency from Nerc, and the balance of touches will help him be patient, and the patience will help him be consistent. It will build off each other. He can get there. But it's how they use him and how they deploy him is going to be the key to everything. I think watching Nerc play with Bosnia, watching him rock the letter O and be this beast against France made me think that there is more to Nerc that they can tap into. But how they tap into it is going to be the key. That's going to do it for today's show. Like I said, you're listening to Monday, August 29th show, publishing on Sunday. For those of you early birds who got in there, come back. We'll have a show on Wednesday for you and Friday. We're going Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week. We are staying 3 days a week until about the middle of September. I haven't totally dialed it down in, but like about the middle of September. So we've got about 3 weeks left of 3 shows a week, and then we're going to switch back into 5 days a week, and then we're going to hit the ground running 5 days a week for a long time because the basketball season will be here. So subscribe to the show on YouTube. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts. You're probably already doing that, but if you're not, go ahead and do it and tell your friends to do the same. I appreciate you listening, and I will talk to you soon.